Hi, Assalamualaikum. I am a member of a group 8. So the topic that we already chosen of group 8 is site clearing, set up platform of piling machine, setting out pile, position, installation of reinforced concrete RC pile, cut of RC pile, starter bar, Pilecap, stump, ground beam and ground slab.
Introduction. Construction starts with making plans for the building, designing the layout, and getting the money needed for construction. Each part of a building usually specifies the purpose or is built in a certain way. Aside from that, construction is getting ready for the future by developing new technology methods that will be used to build a new structure in a different way and with different kind of technology. Site clearing is the first stage or process in a construction project that involves any elements such as shrubs, vegetation, rocks, and other debris on the land that may get in the way of construction process. The main objective of this stage is to create a construction site that is possible for the project to be proceeded and to allow the construction team to start working and building the actual structure of project. The next step is setting up platform for a piling machine. A piling mat is a type of working platform used for piling rigs to travel on. It provides a stable base on which they can move around the site and operate easier to avoid the machine from sinking according to the site condition. The design of piling mats will depend on the ground condition and the piling equipment being used, as well as the rig loading. The most suitable and common materials used for piling mats are generally well-graded gravels, crushed concrete, and crushed hard rocks. For site clearing, a site waste management plan is prepared before the site clearance begins. Next, trees and unwanted things on the site will be removed and cleared, and level and prepare the ground for the planned construction works.
Setting out is a procedure that must be complete before beginning excavation activity. Procedure of setting out pile position. First, setting out pin to setting up the pile position. Second, adjust the mass into a vertical orientation. And lastly, the sighting bar is set up at right angle to pile position. Installation of RC concrete pile. Concrete pile can be either precast pile or cast in situ. RC pile can be installed by driving pile, drill pile and jack-in pile. Sequence of works. A strategy is selected to prevent the pile head from being shattered or broken in any way. Second, the pile is ensured it has gained its full strength to the common cement of construction. Next, place a precast concrete pile on the design location. Next, force the pile into the ground with an impact pile driving hammer. Special timber packing or synthetic cushion block lent to the pile head during driving. And lastly, with control of driving achieved by measuring the set, the pile is driven into the resistive soil layer to a depth equal to 1 time the pile diameter. Next is technology and construction. First is building information modeling. Next is drone, robotic construction, 3D printing, and lastly is prefabrication and modular or industrial building system.
Explain about cut of pile and starter bar. So what is cut pile? Cut pile is actually the level at which the pile below the pier is made to be same level. So they have a three function, which is a to easily effective point connect the reverse of pile to Pilecap and to bear the load of structure to and superstructure. And the third one is a heavy load from superstructure, which is not economical. Okay, I would like to explain of method of cutting pile, which is that usually using in the construction, which is a RC pile and a span pile. So these two method is almost same, but it is different from the span pile. So the firstly, both are same is an excavation, and then the pile should be cleaned off, will be inspected by the site engineers, and then the cutter is also the same, but for machinery is different, which is the RC pile will suggest using the pile cutter HPC, and then the span pile is a hydraulic concrete pile breaker. And after we cutting the pile, we need to install with the pile plug, which is the span pile. And then for the RC pile, it already have a 4 starter bars in the piles have been seen. For RC pile, it already have a 4 starter bar in the pile, and have been seen, and they should be connected to the column stump. But the span pile, they have a no starter bar, then it should be installed with the pile plug so that it will connect into the column stump or the foundation.
What is a Pilecap? Pilecap is basically a thick concrete mat, and this mat can be found in concrete or deeper piles, and those piles are driven to unstable ground or stable ground to create a stable foundation. Next, the dimensions of the Pilecap are determined by the loads and the arrangement of the connections of the structure and the foundation, while the shape of the Pilecap is determined by the number of piles within the group and the spacing between each one of the piles. Also use a secondary reinforcement so that the piles do not move outward from each other. One of the caps and one of the secondary reinforcements is at the bottom of the Pilecap and run around the longitudinal reinforcement. Next is Stump. What is Stump? Stump is the simplest and most familiar footing used for vertical support and the transfer of building loads to the foundation. Stumps are used to support timber frame houses, which are currently the most cost-effective. There are three types of materials that are commonly used for stump, which is timber, concrete,
I will explain about ground beam and ground slab. The simplest explanations of a ground beam is a horizontal concrete beam that supports the weight of a building and transfer it to the foundation. The construction procedure for a ground beam involves several steps, including setting out, clearing the ground, trench excavation, leveling and compaction, installing a blinding layer, leaving a starter bar, installing formwork, installing reinforcement bars, inspection, pouring concrete, curing, and final inspection. It is important to follow the steps in the correct sequence to ensure a stable and durable foundations of the building. While ground slab is a flat concrete surface that forms the foundations of the building and ground level and distribute the weight of the building evenly. The construction procedure for a ground slab involves several steps, including setting out, excavation, preparing the base, installing a dam-proof membrane or DPM, installing formwork and reinforcement bars, inspection, pouring concrete, curing, and final inspection. Also, it is important to follow the steps in the correct sequence to ensure a stable and durable foundation. As for the conclusion, the success or a failure of construction project can depend on the initial step of site clearing and earthworks. Proper planning, scheduling, and supervision of earthworks operation are crucial for efficient and controlled construction. While the project are done, the project team members will gain knowledge about various steps in construction, including site clearing, setting up platforms, installing reinforced concrete piles, and constructing pile caps, stumps, ground beams, and ground slabs.